So today we are here to kick off the first NBSO Asia Business Dialogues. And we are here today with 5 offices of the Netherlands Business Support Offices. And let's get going as we have waiting few minutes for the attendees to join, but I can see that people are still dialing in. But in the interest of time, let's kick off. And as we go on, we'll keep on, of course, interacting with the newcomers. So just to start first with the NBSO Asia Network, we have offices in China, 6 offices in China. We have 2 offices in India, and we have 1 office in Indonesia. Today, for this interaction, we have 2 offices from our China network joining, and 2 offices from India network joining, and the office from Indonesia joining for this interaction. I am myself, Amlan Bora. I sit in India. I'm responsible for the NBSOs in Ahmedabad and in Hyderabad. And at this moment, I'm speaking to you from Ahmedabad, which is in the west coast of India. So why are we here today? Well, basically, we are here today to present to you and to hear from you about how we can support you. And we are focusing that by sharing information from the 5 regions that the 5 offices are predominantly responsible for. In doing that, we'd of course also share with you the highlights of the most relevant sectors in these 3 countries, China, India, and Indonesia. And of course, you don't need to take notes of the presentation because we'll be sharing with you the presentation that we are showing here today, and which will also contain our contact addresses for you to follow up with us directly. So don't focus on that. What we are here is mainly to help you and your businesses grow outside of the Netherlands, and in this case, locally in the 3 countries of China, India, and Indonesia. In terms of how shall we conduct the logistical engagement for today, we are using Zoom, as you have seen, of course. So there are 2 sessions that we are breaking this whole interaction into. In the first session is pretty much a monologue from our side to you, introducing ourselves, what we do, what our markets are interesting for you. And that's 15 minutes. We try to finish that in 15 minutes or target to do that. And during this time, the first part, that when we are presenting, there will be no opportunity for you to ask questions. And we have muted your mics from our side. If you have any question, please hold on to that for a while. And you can ask that during the second part of this presentation today, which is where we go to the breakout rooms. In the breakout rooms, we have definitely more time to interact with you. We'll have 3 breakout rooms, and we have 45 minutes in total. It's an interactive session, so you'll have your mics and your cameras on. And in these breakout rooms, 3 breakout rooms, we are there from the 3 countries. So you'll have our colleagues from China in one, Indonesia another one, and from India in another one. Of course, because of our physical locations being in different places, we probably will see more camera screens, but otherwise there are 3 breakout rooms. You do have the option of joining in one breakout room and switching to another after your interactions in one is complete. So roughly speaking, 45 minutes, we thought if you're interested for all 3 countries, if you want to know more about all the 3 countries, then you can split yourself by 15 minutes in one breakout room. Okay, and in terms of the NBSO, most of you would, of course, know what the NBSO is and what we do. But still, let me just share with you that the NBSOs are trade offices of the Dutch government outside of the Netherlands. Our parent organization is Rijksdienst voor Ondernemen, RVO, which is probably a more familiar name for many of you, if not all of you. And of course, we work in close cooperation with our embassy primarily, and of course with the CG's offices, depending on where we are located. So whenever we are located in a country, the NBSOs, the embassy, and the CGs together from the economic network, and our objective being the same for all the offices, we work in close coordination with one another, driving one single goal, which is basically supporting our Dutch companies to expand, to grow, and to facilitate them to run a smooth business in the country where they're entering. At this moment, our network is expanding. We have 22 offices in 11 countries, and these locations are only in those cities where it is most interesting from a Dutch perspective to have a business synergy with, These are cities, these are regions, these are states where business and economic activity is growing, but growing itself is not enough. It grows, but also by giving and offering and synergy for Dutch technologies, Dutch innovations, and Dutch contributions, Dutch content for them to prosper in that particular region. So as NBSO, we of course provide you a set of services. And our goal, all the services are served with a goal of supporting NL companies to do business, in this case, Asia, but of course, our offices are in America, and in this case, Asia will keep on switching to Asia, America. We do not have an office in Africa yet, so we are in the Americas, we are in Europe, and we are in Asia. So we support you locally wherever we are located. How do we support you? Some of our services, this is not an exhaustive list, but the main services, based on what we hear mostly from the Dutch companies, are centered around knowledge sharing and information about the market. We do market reports, we write them ourselves, we engage external consultants, we have interns working on reports. So we share information about the market, we keep on updating this knowledge, and we keep on providing this knowledge to you. And we provide, of course, any other information based on the request that we get from you. Second type of service we provide is we are locally based here, and the purpose of the trade network to be based outside of where the embassies, CGs are, is basically to create a more wider network. So from that perspective, we are quite successfully creating a local network and building a very good relationship with local contacts. But we are building that, we are doing that with the sole purpose of supporting the Dutch companies. So that's the second service we provide, in the form of introducing you to the network that we have built and to the context based on what your needs are. We provide other local support. A company entering for the first time in a country would be completely lost. We hold your hand so that you are not feeling completely lost. In many cases, as for example, in the case of our NBSO in Ahmedabad, we offer a local support. An example of a local support is we have 4 hot desks in our office. And any new company who are here for the first time, we're not 100% sure how this will go, can use one of these hot desks for a period of up to 6 months, kind of for free. And in this meantime, they can explore the market, they can find out more before they come to a conclusive decision of how they want to go forward. And different offices will have different kind of local support, of course. We, of course, promote and represent the NL as the bigger brand. You support us in building the NL as a brand, but of course, to support each other, we keep on promoting the NL brand. We keep on representing the NL brand by presenting ourselves in events, fairs, conventions, by speaking in seminars, conferences, and a lot of other things. Now, the good thing is all the services that we are offering from our side to the companies are offered for free. So today, like I said already in the beginning, we have our offices from 3 countries. And let us now take the opportunity of introducing ourselves. First, I would invite my colleague from Nanjing, so Willem and Richard, to introduce themselves, but also introduce their market a little bit to all of you. Over to you, Willem.
Thank you, Amlan. So I am William, and I work at the NBSO in Nanjing. Nanjing is the capital city for the province of Jiangsu. And Jiangsu is located in East China. It has a population of 80 million people, which in China puts it as one of the most populous provinces, either at number 2 or 3. And the size is 2.5 times the size of the Netherlands, which is a big land area. But for a Chinese province, it's not too big. It's quite easy for us to reach all the different cities in this province, which I have shown on the bottom left corner. And all of these cities have their own particular industries that they're very good at. So if you want to know a little bit more on that in detail, you can always contact me later on that. For now, in the main lines, Jiangsu is the 2nd largest economy in China. The only province that has a larger economic output is Guangdong province, which a lot of people know for manufacturing. But industry is very large in Jiangsu province. It's also the most heavily invested province by Dutch companies in China. So over the years, Jiangsu has accumulated 165 Dutch manufacturing enterprises. And specifically, most of them are in the city of Suzhou So if you look on the map on the bottom left, you see that Suzhou is the next city from Shanghai. It's on the bottom right. Yeah. So Shanghai as an economic powerhouse borders Suzhou, and Suzhou is the place where we have most Dutch companies, about 70. Next slide. Specifically for Dutch companies, we see that we have put agri-food on #1 because that's really the industry where we find that a lot of companies find opportunities. Agriculture and food processing, both sides of growing and then the processing industry. But we also want to highlight environmental sector, renewable energy. Renewable energy has been very big in Jiangsu for as long as this office has been here, which is over 25 years. The government had a bigger emphasis on solar panels more than 10 years ago. Then wind power was very strong, which is still a topic, and now hydrogen is in. So Jiangsu is also always participating in the big renewable energy industries. Then there's machinery and high tech, automobiles and EVs. There's a lot of car manufacturing factories in Jiangsu, maritime and shipbuilding, and life science and health. And then specifically elderly care is pretty big. Actually, Jiangsu is one of the most aging provinces in China as well. So I listed a few of our upcoming events. The first one, culture and tourism, is starting tomorrow, so that's too late. But for all the other ones, there is still plenty of time if you want to participate in these, if it's possible for you. 9 to 13 November, we have the Food and Beverage Expo. Then also in November, we have Renewable Energy Conference, specifically on the hydrogen session. And we have a lot of Dutch companies participating in both of these. We're doing a horticulture cluster in Davos, where we have horticulture companies joining. And in December, the Senior Care Expo, which we also have 6 Dutch companies joining in a Holland pavilion. Okay, over to you, Amlan.
Thank you, William. Next, I would like to invite my colleague Fons and Yuan from Wuhan to introduce themselves, but also to introduce the market that you represent. Fons, probably your mic is on mute. Over to you.
Yeah. So this is Fons Lambo, Chief Representative of the NBSO Wuhan. I'm today also here with my Deputy Representative, Yuan Fei. We'll give you a little overview of what's happening here in Wuhan in the Hubei province. It would be interesting, maybe get the first slide. Yeah. You can see that Wuhan and the Hubei province are actually in the center of China, more commercially interesting area. And we are actually, if you look at it, if you draw a line from the north in Beijing to the south of Hong Kong, it would go through Wuhan. And if you go, Wuhan is on the Yangtze River. If you go along the Yangtze River, you would also join Wuhan on that line. So we are kind of in the middle of the developed part of China. And of course, Wuhan has been known in the world because of the COVID outbreak. I must say we got that quite well under control now, but at least everybody now knows where Wuhan is. So Wuhan is quite a logistic hub, being located like this, and we have a lot of economic activities around the logistic area. If you talk about population, we have a total population of 58 million. And we have also registered CPD of about 220 million euros, and a growth ratio of 12.2 is basically started to grow faster actually after the COVID outbreak and the extra attention the national government has given to our province. So that has been quite a stimulating period. There's been a lot of, because of the COVID and the lockdown and the closure of the country, China itself, there's been a lot of focus now also on the domestic market. And our area, central China, is playing an important part, just also because of our location. We have also Dutch enterprises here. One of the more famous ones is also the maritime Damen shipyard. They're building ships here in our province. But also we have like the raw material, waste paper, And chemicals are areas where the Dutch companies are finding their way to come into our area. If I have the next slide, we divided it in the older industry and a bit of the newer industry. Traditionally, Hubei has always been a lot of heavy industry. The car industry has been the #1 in China. It has still been having its developments. The French have had their own OEMs here, like the PSA, the Peugeots. But also here is the BYD, the Chinese most famous electric car, is also produced here. So the car industry has always been a very strong industry, and also a lot of companies related to the car industries, also Dutch companies like Lumileds are having their factory here. Said before, the logistics makes it very interesting because we're not only having the shipping on the Yangtze River, but we also have the rail connection between Wuhan and Europe. There's a direct connection. And we also have like a newly opened cargo airport in Urto. So this, on the 3 areas, you can see that there's a very strong professional development there. We have also, because Hubei is a province and Wuhan is a city with a lot of water, a lot of lakes, that has created a lot of opportunities for Dutch companies like Arcadis, because there's a lot of like areas where we are active in a Spawn City. So Spawn City and Arcadis and Wuhan go well together already for, I think, maybe 10, 15 years. The manufacturing from the traditional industry is that, what I said before, the shipbuilding, metal parts and machinery, and also the smaller parts. Coming to the modern parts of Hubei and Wuhan, we see there's a lot of developments in like the hydrogen. The hydrogen one is like gives us a trade opportunity in focusing on the hydrogen, and it's a hydrogen sector, especially the fuel cell vehicles. There's a complete industrial chain that has been established from hydrogen supply, transport and storage to application in automotive and marine vessels. We've had also delegation from hydrogen from Dutch companies visiting Wuhan, before that was still open. I mentioned the electric vehicles as being also OEMs here in Hubei. That's very well developed as well. Photonics is also an interesting area, and biotech. Those last 2 ones are also quite concentrated in one area where we're going to focus on more in the future. That's called Optics Valley. That's a new developed area with a lot of high tech, a lot of innovative companies. To give you also an idea, Xi Jinping, let's say the political party leader of China, has visited Wuhan twice recently, and both times he's been to this region, the region called Optics Valley. Why is it also interesting? Wuhan is like a city with many, many students. There are about, over the total population of Wuhan is about 11 million. There's about 1 million students. There's about 100 universities. So there's a lot of talent, a lot big of talent pool of people who the Wuhan government is also trying to keep here. Last but not least, Wuhan is a little bit more to the west from the Jiangsu province and Shanghai. What we do see is that companies are getting more and more interested in seeing the opportunity to relocate to this part of the country because of lower rents, availability of good and qualified staff. So that makes it for companies who are seeing that the expenses are going up in other parts of China, mainly from the east. They see other opportunities, new opportunities, and coming to our region. I would say you are also welcome to come to Wuhan. I hope to get into more contact with you, and hope we can be of support. Okay, that's it from Wuhan.
Thank you, Fons. Next, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Amlan here, and with me today in this interaction, we have Prajakta, Ram, and Martijn. He'll be interacting with all of us during the interactive session. But for now, let me just give you a very broad overview of the Indian economic scenario. First of all, it is so difficult to talk about India as a country in a few bullet points. The country is so diverse and so huge. But what I try to pick up here is a couple of trends, which then connects to some of the developments that we are seeing on the economic side. First of all, if you talk about the size of the economy today is $2.96 trillion economy, which is the 5th largest by nominal GDP and 3rd by PPP. And this economy is targeting to become a 5 trillion economy by as early as 2025. So that shows, of course, if it will succeed or not is not something which is the most important perspective to look at. But because of these very ambitious goals being set by the Indian government and with strong support from the Indian private sector, the country is definitely following a trend of growth. In terms of population, the country is it's the 2nd biggest population by size and 7th by area. Population is just next to China, so the Indian population is 1.38 billion, but I think that was based on a census which is already a couple of years old. So probably it's just can be a guess of how big the population today is looking at the trend. Population growth roughly is about 1%. The Indian economy was the fastest growing major economy in 2021-22 with a growth of 8.7% of GDP. Yeah, and as per the latest projections by most of the economic think tanks, including the World Bank, the economy would continue to be doing very well over the next couple of years, next 5 years to 10 years. Like I said, it aims to become a 5 trillion economy by 2025. Now, because of that, what you see here in India is a huge push on infrastructure growth and, of course, infrastructure modernization. That infrastructure growth and modernization push can be seen across all sectors of the broader infrastructure area. You see ports coming up, you see port modernizations, you see a lot of focus being put on highways, on connectivity. You're putting a lot of focus being put on intramodal connectivity. Inland water transport is a big area. Information technology is a big area because the physical connection is one thing. What if the different hubs are not connected through or digitally? So that's a lot of focus is put on that. So that's definitely one big growth area where we see increasing number of Dutch companies participating. And it's also an area where I can foresee a lot of Dutch companies showing interest in the coming years to come, coming days to come. That's also because of the strong innovation and expertise we as the Netherlands have. And that innovation competitiveness is something which could be of great value for the growth that we are seeing in India. Population, if you talk about it, there are 5 megacities. Megacities are cities with a population of 10+ million. Many of these megacities have a population of bigger than the Netherlands. So for example, Mumbai has definitely a population of about 21 million, which is way bigger than the population of Netherlands. There are 5 megacities at this moment, but there are going to be 7 megacities by 2030, which is not very far away from now. And that is clearly seen from, if you look at the migration trend, if you look at how most people are migrating from the rural centers to the urban pockets. Even if I take reference of 2011 data, which is 11 years older, 78 million people migrated from rural part of India into urban settlements way back in 2011. Now, what this means is 2 things. First of all, India has predominantly been an agriculture-driven economy. Now, with migration of labor from the rural to the urban pocket, agriculture is facing a challenge in terms of labor shortage. On one side, the population is growing. On another side, people are migrating from agriculture to do something else in the urban pocket, which basically then creates a huge opportunity, if we look at it from a perspective of opportunity, for mechanized farming. So, and that's what we see, increasingly bigger companies, increasingly we see educated people are getting themselves engaged with enterprises related to agri sector, food sector. And that trend is just going to continue. And of course, as Netherlands, that fits very well with what we can offer. Mechanized farming, a more kind of scientific way of doing things is exactly our expertise. And that's exactly where our global strong position in food and the agri sector lies. So it's a huge opportunity for us from looking at it from there. But more people are getting condensed in very confined urban pockets. Population density is probably one of the highest in the world, which means all the challenges that comes with the huge settlements, like water problem, waste management problem, mobility problem, security problem, cyber security, all of these things are becoming increasingly areas of focus. And of course, the Indian government, the Indian industrial diaspora is all putting focus on that. So this again becomes areas where our Dutch companies can definitely consider and look at for something as an opportunity for themselves. The third big area is, or the third big aspect that we need to look at is probably how much of energy consumption a country as big as India need, and then what percentage of the energy being consumed in the nation is being imported and what percentage is being domestically produced. 85% is the amount of oil which is being imported by India from the total that it consumes. And that puts a lot of pressure on its budget, of course, on its treasury, on its exchequer. 2021 data, 2021-22, 119 billion, which is double of what it spent the year before, is what India spent in just importing oil. Now, if not only from the perspective of being a more sustainable economy, but also from a perspective of sheer economics, there's a huge focus on transitioning from an oil-driven or fossil fuel-driven economy to be a more renewable energy economy. So India set up very kind of aggressive targets as part of the Paris commitment already. And what the good thing is, unlike a lot of times, in the case of renewable energy, India has overachieved the targets. So at this moment, India has already generated or is generating 150 gigawatt of power from renewable sources. And the target they have set for themselves is to generate 500 gigawatt of electric power or energy from renewable sources by 2030. 4 years ago, this 500 gigawatt target would have been looked like a dream, probably unachievable. But looking at what India has achieved in the last 2-3 years in the sector of renewable energy, the 500 is absolutely achievable, which again means it opens the door for Dutch companies which are in the area of renewable energy sector. When I talk about renewable energy, we need to understand it from both the perspective of production, but also application. Production, of course, things like offshore wind would be definitely something which India is putting a lot of emphasis on, an interesting area for us as well from the Dutch perspective. Hydrogen is definitely one, ammonia production, solar cells, hydrogen cells, biomass energy, all of these things are interesting. But again, we need to understand it from the perspective of the complete value chain. It's not just a production, but to produce, the next comes storage. After storage comes transportation. So in all these mega activities within the energy value chain or the supply chain, there are definitely opportunities where India is looking for support, for collaboration, and that's an area where our Dutch companies can leverage on. Very quickly, opportunities, if I summarize it, lies in the sector of maritime and logistics, agriculture and food processing, waste and water management, new technologies, life sciences and health, clearly because of the size of population, new energy and mobility. A lot of these things I, of course, touched upon in my previous slide already as I introduced a bit of the economic setup. Again, upcoming events, there's plenty of events which are always happening in India. This is just a snapshot of what could be interesting for you. 28th to 30 September, too much around the corner, probably not so much interesting for this year, but just to give you an understanding of what could be there interesting for the years in the future. But this is an event which is very good in water and waste. You can meet all the right stakeholders in one platform. If you're still interested, do let us know. 25th of November, the Poultry India event, which is an annual event. We had very good Dutch participation all the previous years. We look forward to receiving many more Dutch companies again this year. BioAsia, again, a key event which is organized by the Telangana government. The next one is in 2023 from 24 to 26th of Feb. A big platform to engage with the high-tech sector, which is kind of in the areas of life sciences, agriculture as well, cyber technology. A lot of these things which are in the Hyderabad area. This will be a good platform to meet them. A very big event, which is probably still possible for the Dutch companies to participate, is the one in Bangalore from 16 to 18, Bengaluru Tech Summit. That probably you can think about. And then again, the events about smart cities, and also late next year we have a big maritime event, which could be interesting for you. I'll not go to the details of this, but of course, when you'll be interested and you'll be contacting us, we'll be very willing to share more about this. With that, I'd like to welcome my colleague Mario from Surabaya, Indonesia, to give your introduction and also to speak about your market.
Yeah, thank you, Amlan. Good morning or selamat pagi, everyone. My name is Mario Lau, and I'm the Chief Rep of NBSO Indonesia, and I'm here with my colleague Andika. So Indonesia is, with 270 million inhabitants, the fourth most populated country in the world, making it the largest economy of Southeast Asia. The country spans 3 time zones and covers a land area in which the Netherlands can fit around 46 times. Looking at the economic growth, according to the Asian Development Bank, Indonesia is expected to grow by 5% in 2022. This as the domestic demand continues to recover. If we focus on the trade between Indonesia and the Netherlands, we can see that for Indonesia, the Netherlands ranks number 12 as the top trading partner in 2021. The top products Indonesia exported to the Netherlands were, among others, organic chemical products and wooden products like furniture. Furthermore, the Netherlands exported to Indonesia, for example, pharmaceutical products, machineries, and boilers. Now, there are already quite a few Dutch companies active in Indonesia in several sectors. The Netherlands is, according to the Indonesian Ministry of Investment, the top investor from the European Union. And at the second quarter of 2022, the Netherlands ranks number 7 as the biggest investor to Indonesia. Our office is located in the city Surabaya, which is the capital of the province East Java. After Indonesia's capital Jakarta, Surabaya is the second biggest city in Indonesia and is the gateway to East Indonesia. Traditionally, the province East Java is exceeding the growth on national level and is the second largest contributor to the Indonesian economy. Furthermore, East Java is known to be the locomotive of the Indonesian economy, as it is contributed around 14.5% to the Indonesian GDP. East Java has much untapped potential, is less saturated than West Java, and is increasingly seen as a favorable alternative to investors as it offers lower land and labor costs. The next slide, please, Amman. Yeah. So, according to the Indonesian Ministry of Investment, the country has the dream to become one of the biggest economies in the world by 2030. To reach this goal, the Indonesian government prioritized the sectors such as infrastructure, energy, mining, automotive, and tourism. Now, in addition, there are also opportunities in the sectors agro and food. So Indonesia has plenty of fertile land and produces a wide variety of agricultural products, where East Java has one of the biggest concentrations of dairy and poultry production of the country. So this sector offers opportunities for Dutch entrepreneurs with knowledge, technology, and solutions. Think of sustainable production and digital transformation in the agri-food systems. Now, upcoming agro event is in November. There will be an NL Pavilion at the ILDEX exhibition in Jakarta. Furthermore, Indonesia is globally one of the biggest contributors of marine plastic pollution. According to the National Plastic Action Partnership, it aims a 70% reduction by 2025. In addition, Indonesia generates 105,000 tons of municipal waste every day. The World Bank stated that only around 7% of this is being recycled. So in addition, many landfills are approaching their maximum capacity. Now, there will be an NL Pavilion at the Indo Waste Expo event next month in October. For the life science and health sector, 94% of the medical equipment is being imported. This already creates room for opportunities. There is an Indonesian healthcare market study available, which provides an overview of the digital healthcare market in Indonesia. In case of any interest, we can send you the report, which also describes the trends and opportunities. Think of medical devices and medical software. Moreover, Indonesia faces challenges in the field of water management. In 2020, the Netherlands and Indonesia signed an MOU. This includes a number of focus areas, such as urban resilience, water management, and improving the water quality. So Dutch companies with knowledge and tech in the water sector can contribute to this. Furthermore, Indonesia strives to be a global player in the maritime field. There are opportunities to collaborate with Indonesia on smart maritime connectivity solutions. There are also opportunities for Dutch shipbuilders, and Surabaya is actually the home to the biggest shipyard of Indonesia. So the country strives for high-quality shipbuilding where Dutch knowledge can complement. Now, for upcoming November, a maritime trade mission is planned. This, ladies and gentlemen, was in short about Indonesia. Terima kasih, thank you kindly for your attention, and back to you, Amlan.
Thank you very much, Mario. But with that, we also come to the end of the first session, and now we will go to the second session, which is more interactive. We'll distribute ourselves. The colleagues from 3 NBSOs will be distributing into 3 breakout rooms: India, Indonesia, and China. And we look forward to seeing you there. In terms of how you can do this, you will very soon on the left bottom of your screen see the icon for the breakout rooms. If you click that, you already can see here that the rooms which are available. Now, before you click, I just want to say one thing to you. Today, this event was predominantly for Dutch companies. It is actually for Dutch companies only. But many of our friends, our network people from India, from China, and from Indonesia, local colleagues have also joined. It is no problem that you join this event, but the interactions will only be confined to the Dutch companies. So we'll be only answering questions to the Dutch companies. So please, for the local companies from India, China, and Indonesia, please be on listening mode, and will not be taking questions from you today during this interaction. What we'll do, of course, is we will distribute this presentation where you'll be able to see our contact details. If you have any interest with the Netherlands or with Dutch companies, we can, of course, look at it from a reverse matchmaking perspective that we do anyway, always. And that way, we'll be able to serve your interest as well. But that will be done afterwards and not today in this interaction. Thank you very much. So please join individually the first breakout room of your choice, and then you'll be able to switch from one room to another. And after 40 minutes, 45 minutes of interaction, we'll all come back to this plenary session, and then we will, within a very short time, end the first Asian Business Dialogue. So see you all in the India breakout room, but also meet my colleagues in the Indonesia and the Chinese breakout room.